Last time on Dragging These Nuts Across Your Face, I talked about kissing my dad, how Elon Musk can suck my balls before he bought Twitter, and also smiling friends. That's right. After my first video did relatively well and kept doing well when season 2 started coming out, I was like, why not? I'm still relatively fond of that video in spite of the fact that I don't agree with all my old opinions, and my voice sounding like it wants to end itself. I'll be ranking every episode of Season 2 of Smiling Friends. So come on then, lumpies and germs, let's get on with it. Yes.
Are you having an affair?
So yeah, this is probably one of my new least favorites. It starts out really funny with Jeremy being weirdly aggressive and Charlie's, but the moment we start seeing the president, it all goes to shit. Literally, because he shits himself. Yeah, I just don't like Jimbo as a character. I don't mind the idea of what if Chris Chan was the president, but in my opinion his comedy is incredibly one note. Oh, he shat his pants during a speech, him eating a lot of lamb beforehand because he is stupid. He crashes the economy because he is stupid. He doesn't condemn a dictator because he is stupid. I feel like this character would have really only worked as a quick one-off, because as it stands, the focus of the episode is now the least funny part. It doesn't help that the whole, let's help a massively unpopular person get their shit together formula was already done last season in Mr. Frog's episode, except it was way better there because we were constantly seeing new issues that Mr. Frog was facing. First it was swallowing people, then it was untamed aggression, then it was his drug problem, and then his issues with minorities. It was never just the same behavior over and over. Speaking of Mr. Frog, why wasn't he in it more? His presidential campaign was easily the funniest part. I mean, come on, look at that Spider-Man reference. I fucking love Spider-Man! Could have worked really well as a douchey rival that constantly provoked Jimbo into fucking up, while he commits even more war crimes. That would have been epic. Now, this episode is still good.
No, not at all, man. You shit your pants and crash the economy within the same day. What are you talking about, dude?
Charlie gets a great biting line. The worms are very well animated and super funny, especially the way they turn on Mr. Frog towards the end. And Gleb getting doxxed might be one of the greatest moments of the show. It really is just brought down by a kind of lame central character. Also, for some reason, this was the episode people started overanalyzing on Twitter. Oh, please, do not let this fanbase become like Rick and Morty's again. I can't go through that. Charlie, I'm Pickle Pim. This one I feel like shit for ranking lower because like most Smiling Friends episodes, this one has some all-timer gags in there. I really like how the episode's plot is built around the idea of a friend showing you an interest of theirs, and the other friend not really caring, creating a pretty heartbreaking moment that I cry about every night. But the actual characters here are pretty lame. Bill's pretty cool, RIP, but the other two kinda aren't. One's a conspiracy nut crackhead that was trolling, and the other shtick is vomit. That's it. In fact, I'd argue this episode has the worst end tag of the whole show, purely because it's not really building on any gags, and instead it's just these two, already whatever characters, doing their thing. And when they do get abducted, it kind of turns into a party episode, which, while I would like to go to, it doesn't interest me that much in media. Especially here, because it's all predicated on these two stoner aliens who are massive trolls. I don't know, I never found that archetype particularly funny, even if they're in stop motion. I do like the big argument scene between them and Charlie after they were convinced to blow up an entire planet out of fear of LED lights. I also like the Pim and Charlie lore of them having known each other for 7 years. Then we get some classic improv about the alien Tony Hawk game that was in the background for a few seconds. It's here that I sort of felt this gag type was overstaying its welcome. I don't know, this interaction goes on for a bit too long, I'll be honest. It's all worth it though, for what might be my new favorite gag of the entire show, where Pim and Charlie, to their absolute horror, find out the Earth is really flat. Not only is this just funny conceptually, but the way Michael and Zach deliver this scene made me straight up belly laugh for a second there. This, combined with generally some of the best expression work on the show so far, makes this episode shine. And hey, just like any human being, I want to stab this episode with my knife. Also, it's flawed. Yeah, this is another one I feel bad for ranking lower. It has a wonderful, ironic sense of positivity attached to itself, with Charlie noting how much he likes the boss due to him being funny as he go-go gadgets away to the moon. Everyone being impressed that Jeremy built the rocket shoes, as the boss says that he loves his boys, to even the ending where Charlie proudly proclaims that he loves his life and country. I can't blame him. His girlfriend was revived after a whole season. Even though these moments are jokes, I still think it shows how this show has a leg up on most adult animated comedies by utilizing positivity so well, instead of relying on the usual tropes. But I'm gonna have to burst this episode's bubble, because while I enjoy all of that, the actual premise is kind of lame. It all centers on this snowman who comes to life and contemplates life and death by yelling. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think he was all that funny. He's very similar to Foiky from Toy Story 4, but bad. To me, they just don't do much with his character to make him consistently funny. I feel like in this case he's too generic in a way that's unfunny rather than ironically genius. A lot of people also enjoy the Yeti gag, but to me he's a little too close to James Idaho to be all that funny. Tons of great aspects, but the core could have used some polishing, I guess. The Halloween episode. Last time I thought the Halloween episode was good, but probably the weakest episode of that season. Now it gets the pristine honor of not being that. Right off the bat, this episode is by far the best title because it uses epic. As for the actual episode, it shows us the boss marrying what is obviously the devil's daughter. Charlie shows up drunk because he's an asshole with a new fifth smiling friend. Bimbo, or whatever the fuck his name was. You'll never be S'more you, just give up. The Hellspawn changes the business because she obviously has control over the boss's mind. Pim, Charlie, and Jeremy, not Klepto because I don't know, he sucks, don't like the cut of her jib and decide to investigate. This is kind of my main problem with the episode. It's very low energy. Most of it is just our characters standing around and trying to figure out what's going on and what to do, which isn't helped by the fact that the episode ends on an intentional anticlimax. I feel like they could have made us care a little bit more about the threat of the business dying. We only get to see the impact Mrs. Hellspawn had very briefly, which just kind of means I don't care about this conflict. Which isn't a big deal, this is a comedy show, but in this case I feel like it robbed us of funnier jokes with this character. Because now her whole thing is just that she's an annoying girlfriend and nothing more. However, in spite of that, this episode is still great, because even though I definitely feel they should have done more, the episode is still funny as hell. Kramer, no! Jeremy being a part of the main dynamic is great, and I hope they keep that up. The overly cliche way they deliver certain scenes. Doug Walker, the
Matt Damon, is a cow
guy. Nah, but seriously, I love this bit. It's so authentic to his garbage fire content. It's amazing. The prank toward the end where Charlie gets ready to make sweet love to the boss is gold too. Maybe this episode had a little too many jump scares though. Oh well, the post-credit scene where the boss argues with the devil over who owns what is good enough for me to forgive it. Overall, better than last season's Halloween episode, and a pretty great one on its own, even if it's not my favorite. No! Not Tyler! I was going to marry him! In this kooky, wacky, tacky-ass bullshit, we get to see the show explore some interesting dynamics. Jeremy and Charlie looking after Pim going to Spamtopia. First off, I love how it's not only acknowledged that Charlie and Jeremy barely hang out one-on-one, but they also acknowledge that stupid fucking joke from episode 1 where Jeremy bit Charlie's nose. They treat it like he assaulted Charlie, it's so funny. Then Jason dies, just like in the game. I honestly found the subplot very entertaining, especially when they just start fighting over who murdered a child. As for Spamtopia, I like the problem solver's art style. Yes, that was an insult.
Fuck you.
And I especially enjoy the fact that they got Gaster's voice actor back to play the eyeball.
Hello, have some sex.
Pim breaks the one rule that the Absolutely Fire song at the beginning exposited and is sentenced to dead. The boss tempting Pim with cyanide coming out of his nose is so damn good. Oh yeah, it's all okay because it turns out he's actually Pim's pen pal Oscar from Happy Fish. Then the boss makes out with an eyeball, the #1 cause of pink eye. Then we get an epic Pibby glitch moment towards the end. It's so dramatic, but not as dramatic as the boss is when he finds out his son died. Then the episode flashes forward to after the boss got into a 6-month coma. He then has to cut his fingers for the origami killer. I'll be honest, I don't know much about Heavy Rain. I'm just shitting on a bull over here. Nah, in reality, thanks to the stone, becomes a beautiful schmetterling. He shits out so much fairy dust that they drown. Boolulu. If I have to give a legitimate piece of criticism for this one, I'd say that I'm not huge on the jump scares. Most people see them as a crutch in horror, but I kind of apply that same logic to comedy. Aside from that minor nitpick, this is still a great episode, even if it does lean a bit more into the randomness for my taste. Finally, we get some insight into Jeremy's character. I feel like he definitely needed more of a spotlight. Gleb is pretty obviously just a joke addition to the cast, but Jeremy always had far more potential to be utilized in a funny way. And clearly they recognize that because yeah, this one is a banger. I really like when this show is able to break the formula, and I really like when they manage to cram in tons of silly little side characters. So I was gonna love this one no matter what. In fact, the whole thing being an adventure is probably why it has such good pacing. We start out with Jeremy apparently having had sex, yet he looks like he's never seen this woman in his life. Then we get the overly friendly landlord, who really badly wants to play Burnout Revenge TM for the PlayStation 2 family of systems. The fact they had to license the use of that game is probably the funniest part of the episode. The boss's paperclip bit with him just breaking character entirely is pure gold. I love when his VA is allowed to do that. And now we get to the part of the episode that sparked up some debate. You see, Jeremy approaches this employee to ask for paper clips he needs, but this spider person is busy stacking shit and makes it clear that he doesn't have the time. He says it somewhat aggressively, however, so Jeremy eventually gets mad at him, calling him an asshole. This leads to a big argument that ends with one person still being mad and Jeremy teasing him for being a spider. Wait, he's racist. My man. If I had to actually analyze who was wrong here, it would be pointless since the joke is that it's a very human interaction. Jeremy finally gets the paperclips from a man with a paperclip nose before they're quickly stolen. From here on out, the animation goes incredibly hard for no reason, with this action scene that outright changes aspect ratios, which is a detail only I appreciate, and the episode simply doesn't let up either, because right after that we get fucking stop motion Sans Undertale pirates that get swallowed by this big fish. This whole sequence is super fun, but then all is revealed. The landlord is the twist villain. And honestly, given how lame that trope can be, I gotta applaud the team for making it work here. I just love this guy so much. It's pretty obvious he's based on a real life landlord either Zach and Michael have had, who was probably a little too overly friendly, and now he's immortalized forever as a villainous gremlin. Get fucked, landlord. Just like the paperclip nose guy, I hope he's dead. Jeremy says,
Kill yourself.
And the landlord just does. He finally gets back with the shit and gets a shit present in return, which Charlie wants because he's fucking stupid. The boss's disappointment is played completely straight, and I love it. This is an awesome episode, filled with great animation, tons of moments they treat seriously, making the jokes even funnier, and yes, even Charlie kissing Pim.
So if I'm your daddy, will you kiss me?
I called it. This one is just the definition of non-stop great gags. I mean, the episode has the back-to-back greatness of greasy, oiled-up men in diapers fighting over meat, and the absolute dread you feel once the boss reveals the Subway guy as the person they need to make smile. And then it turns out the boss was just pranking them. I kind of love that this season has moved away from the boss's disturbing side, and is now far more comfortable playing into his silly little prankster side. One isn't better than the other, but I think a good balance keeps his character fresh comedically. However, this moment kind of highlights a problem I have with how they've been going about this season. That being the fact they have extensive previews that actively showcase the premise of next week's episode, which, given the fact that the episodes are only 11 minutes, is giving a little too much away if you ask me. Especially in this case, where if they simply kept quiet about the episode and everyone went into it blind, this gag would have been infinitely funnier. In reality, the episode is about this mad scientist who wants to create life. They really play into the trope because it's naturally pretty overdone, and holy shit, it's Joel! Honestly, I love this inclusion way more than some of the other YouTube cameos. Not because the others were bad, it's more so that part of the gimmick was always that that's a you boober. But Joel has always had stupid cartoon nonsense combined with moments he treats seriously for the sake of the bit. And a unique and terrible looking rotoscope style. I mean, this was a match made in heaven. Best moment from any of his videos is this.
But at midnight, she becomes sexy.
As for the episode itself, the conflict starts with another silly cartoon characters getting into a very serious argument scene, and yet somehow they still keep that formula funny by virtue of the writing just being really engaging. The scientist gets kicked out, and it's here that the episode splits up Pim and Charlie to take care of this fractured relationship. While you do get some insight into the brothers here, I think joke-wise, up until the forced realization with a weirdly animated goblin, I didn't really think this part of the episode was all that funny. They make up for that though, thanks to the brothers' terrible reconciliation and rotoscoped fight scene, Jesus Christ. And then they truly make up after this weird homunculus grows from an egg and sucks on one of the brothers' toes. Even Charlie is like, why is it always like this? Easy for you to say, Brian, you can't hide their death! I think it's with this episode that I started realizing that I might already like this season more than the first. I think that says enough about the quality of this one. God damn, man. For a premiere randomly dropped on April Fools, this might be one of my new favorites. Every single aspect of it works for me. Gwimbly is an obvious highlight. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a more accurate looking depiction of an early 3D era platformer mascot.
That will get you excited.
He looks like the perfect blend between N64 and PlayStation, and I don't even know how they did that. And it's just more variety in animation styles, which is always a plus. Cartoons kind of have an insanely bad track record when it comes to jokes about gaming, mostly because they didn't fully grasp gaming as a concept or understand it culturally. This episode gets it, however. From the blatant references to Banjo and Spyro, how they need to go indie to get Gwimbly back, to even the CEO that desperately wants to not use the character, but also doesn't want anyone else to. It's all here and accounted for. And what helps is that it's filled with good jokes. Gwimbly's iconic victory dance, the reference to the best money-wasting tool on the planet, cameo.
John, fuck you.
Oh, I swear to God, if I had my Gwimbly gun on me right now!
The mic peeking.
Mr. Millipete's tragic demise at the hands of fentanyl, and even the CEO telling our main characters that they need to kiss his nugget, which sounds disgusting. This part of the episode has been the longest lasting in meme culture, not just due to people pretending Gwimbly is real, but mostly because companies keep doing stupid shit that proves this episode right. Hell, that's not even mentioning the great subplot as well, with this guy called James Idaho being completely psychotic and wanting to be cheered up, but being incredibly resistant at the same time. With Charlie, according to the rules, having to comply with everything, and it's such a great idea. And it leads to Charlie in a maid outfit. I mean, what's not to fuck? This episode just has it all. Great main plot that's conceptually strong and filled with banger jokes, and a B plot that plays with the formula and also has banger jokes. Truth of the matter is, this episode is Gwimbly peak fiction. Well, that was the ranking. Before we get to the conclusion, though, I thought it was important to show you guys my full ranking of the entire show. Here it is! I'll make special note of the fact that the Simon S. Salty episode is now significantly lower. Sorry to all 12 fans of that episode, it really doesn't hold up on a rewatch for me. Mr. Frog and the Enchanted Forest were simply way ahead of their time, and I couldn't see their brilliance. So, that was Season 2. Some of the absolute best so far, and also some of the more okay ones. Season 1 had an episode lineup which was more consistent, but I think I prefer Season 2 purely for having the best of the best. Hell, even the more okay episodes still have gags which exceed a lot of Season 1. They're just less well-rounded, I guess. Safe to say the show is in good hands, and I'm excited for Season 3. Though I will say that I find it bizarre that the show doesn't have more episodes besides 8 11-minute ones per season. I'm not saying they should increase the length, but definitely vastly increased the episode count. The streaming service brain rot kind of hit this show like a truck in that regard. God forbid we make more than 8 episodes. I mean, look at shows like The Boys. Yeah, those episodes are 1 damn hour each, and wait, The Sopranos is 25 years old, and that had episodes which got close to an hour, so not even that is an excuse. Point is, modern TV is a scared little bitch, and Smiling Friends deserves better. Also, season 2 is good, that's what the video was about. Gonna review every episode of Doctor Who now, bye!